About this whole New York Giants situation. He is on the clock Monday night at 5 p.m. If he's not claimed on waivers, Daniel Jones becomes an unrestricted free agent. He, of course, is the highly paid, now unemployed New York Giant quarterback. Players in that Giant locker room are really upset. They played terrible yesterday. They got creamed. The players are bitching at the play calling. One player, Malik Neighbors, stood up and said, he's a high first-round pick. He said, I wasn't targeted until the score was 30-0. What is Brian Daboll doing as head coach?
Yeah.
So there's a huge uproar there. And another player sounded off. Well, I guess it wasn't DJ's fault. It wasn't Jones's fault that the Giants got beat yesterday.
Right.
So it'll be interesting to see where he winds up. He's going to get his money. Giants are taking a $13 million cap hit the rest of this season, $22 million cap hit. They made a terrible mistake, and they did a terrible job putting players around him. Here's the question about Daniel Jones. I keep hearing he's going to an NFL team with playoff aspirations as an insurance policy. I was told Minnesota has already contacted him. Buffalo has contacted him. Now, San Francisco's got issues. They've contacted him. I was told there's at least 5 teams that want to bring him in this week to meet. But he's healthy and he's ready to play. He won't be your starter. He can be a reliable backup. He can learn the playbook as we go. And then he goes and becomes a free agent at the end of the season. And if he does well for you in an emergency thing, maybe you sign him and you keep him. If not, he's got this under his belt, and then he can go out on the open market as a free agent. So keep an eye on, maybe something happens late Monday night, first thing Tuesday with Daniel Jones. But he got screwed in New York more ways than one with the Giants situation. Second one, this is a really tough story to talk about. He was so popular here as a San Diego Charger, then up there, Austin Ekeler hospitalized, really bad concussion, second head injury in about a month. He got wiped out on a kickoff return. I mean, he was down on the field, I'd say, for a good 8 minutes. They took him to the hospital. He was still in the hospital as of this morning. I don't think Ekeler's going to play the rest of the season. That's terrible. A couple of other notes. This is a weird media note. I know you watch this. I know you probably pounded on the table. ESPN has canceled Around the Horn. Remember that show where they kind of launched it, and they brought in sports columnists from all over the country, and they debate hot topics on there. I mean, it was really cool. It was almost like it was this podcast before podcast ever began.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's on ESPN. Anyway, they've canceled it after 23 years, which is kind of surprising to me. I think the problem is now, with apologies, there's so much damn noise out there. What differentiates them from any of the other stuff on ESPN? Your guy, Stephen A. Smith, screaming every morning, or across the street with whatever Fox has got on now. So there's so much noise out there, so I don't know whether it's a good move or a bad move. The other thing, this guy was the pioneer. This guy, the first guy to ever do it. He was in USA Today. Rudy Martzke was their first radio TV columnist nationally. Mm-hmm. And he kind of pioneered that corner of print media. He just passed away over the weekend at the age of 82. He was kind of an interesting guy, very different writing style, was not a hatchet man. Union Tribune, started to develop, quote, radio TV columnists, and all they did was just bag on talk show hosts and play-by-play guys. It's that we don't live in a negative world. We don't all do bad work. But Rudy Martzke passed away at age 82, and he was really gifted. He was based out of Chicago, and he was the first one to did it. And then suddenly all the other newspapers, when your sports section had employees, they started to develop some of those guys. I go crazy. Don't get me started on the sports section of newspapers right now. LA Times, they changed their whole structure. And they had a great sports department with Pulitzer Prize winners and all kinds of the Jim Murrays of the world. Now in the LA Times sports section, you get yesterday's news a day later. I mean, it's really terrible.
Yeah.
I opened it up because I like to read the notes and all that. And there's a huge volume Laker story on Monday morning about the Laker game that was played on Saturday night, because they moved the freaking deadlines up so early you can't get anything filed as it relates to game coverage. Think about that. We all know the end result of the game. Lakers got killed by Denver, but we can't read about it the next morning because we've got to read about it the following morning because of deadlines. Don't get me started on newspapers. Anyhow, That's the latest. We are with Daniel Jones, Austin Ekeler, in the media.
You know, everything in the media is changing. I
Oh,
mean,
you think?
and not just sports, but everything else. I mean, like Elon Musk is saying, we are the media, like X is the media. And longtime journalists in sports and in traditional news are fighting back against that. So, podcasts like what we're doing is the future. There's a lot of great content out there, but it used to be that, the sports media were in this sort of ivory tower. Remember that show, Sports Reporters, that
Sure.
ESPN did? That was really good. I enjoyed that.
That was the first of its kind.
But we can get a lot more of that content in a lot of different ways. And so I think, here's an example of ESPN is trying to adapt to the new reality.
So that's where we are. All things there. Lots to cover. If you're a football fan, feel free to jump on board, pick one of these topics off the table. What do you want?